In this video, we're talking about how the only Steam Deck you should buy in 2025 should be a refurbished one. How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and this is Deck Ready, my channel all about the Steam Deck. The number one comment I get on this channel is if the Steam Deck is worth purchasing or not in 2025, and I always say yes because I have a Steam Deck. I have an OLED. I love it. I use it every day. It is so worth it. Even if the Steam Deck 2 comes out next year, it should be pretty easy to resell, and you'll be familiar with the Steam Deck, so I obviously think it's worth grabbing. But recently I was given an interesting opportunity by my friends over at Deck Buttons. If you didn't see their April Fool's joke they came up with, it was way farther than they had to go because they actually made buttons for the Steam Deck that are carved or chiseled or formed out of stone. Like they're actually made of rock, and I wanted to get my hands on those, and they kindly sent me a set, so I'll do a video on that when they arrive. But my main Steam Deck is a Steam Deck OLED limited edition model, and I am not taking that thing apart to put new buttons in it. So I figured I'd actually order a refurbished Steam Deck OLED and let you know how the experience is, because I think personally, at least, if you are buying a Steam Deck in 2025, it's probably the best way to go. So if you've ever tried to get one of these, you're probably aware that the biggest problem is the refurbished models go out of stock immediately. Like you have to basically check every day because Valve updates the site to the minute. So if they get one in stock, it goes in stock on the website. Someone traditionally buys it very quickly and then they're out of stock again. The one that's always seemingly in stock or only goes out of stock for a few hours at a time is the 1 terabyte Steam Deck OLED for some reason, probably because it's the most expensive. But even if you go with that one, which is what I did, you are saving a lot of money. So right now, if you went over to the Steam store and decided to buy a 1 terabyte brand new Steam Deck OLED, that would cost you $649, which is not cheap by any means. That's pretty damn expensive, but it is the most expensive Steam Deck model they offer. If you want to get a refurbished model, it's $100 cheaper. It's actually more than $100 cheaper at $519. So that is a great savings, and it saves you a lot of time on upgrading the SSD of the 512 gig model if that's your plan, or if you got the 512 gig model, you could just throw a micro SD card in there. But there are other benefits too that you get for paying more for the 1 terabyte SSD to be installed in the console. First of all, you get the premium etched glass, so it's anti-glare out of the box, and it doesn't attract fingerprints all that much, and it's harder to scratch. Like I don't even use a screen protector on my regular limited edition OLED that I've already had, and there's 0 scratches on it. You also get a special case that has a slim case within it. I use that slim case constantly. Like whenever I'm traveling, I just use the slim case instead of the beefy regular case that it comes with. And you get a Steam profile bundle, which like who cares? It's kind of like flair to throw on your Steam profile, but there are some other benefits, and it's the one that's always in stock. So that's the one I went with. And as someone who ordered a Steam Deck close to launch, they have drastically improved shipping times. Originally, it took over 2 weeks for me to get my Steam Deck back when it came out during launch. It was shipping from Illinois all the way to Los Angeles, but even though I'm in Detroit, which is a lot closer, I ordered this refurbished Steam Deck on Wednesday and I got it on Friday. Like they had that thing packaged up and shipped out Thursday morning, which is crazy. So yeah, the shipping times were very quick, even though I ordered a refurbished model, and they've opened up different distribution centers all over the United States. So if you ordered one from LA now, it would probably ship from somewhere a lot closer, which is cool. So yeah, now that I've got my refurbished model here, let's take a look inside the box. And my immediate impression is that I could not tell this was a refurbished model versus the original Steam Deck I got or the limited edition Steam Deck OLED. On the surface, it looks like it's exactly the same. And once I opened up the box, once again, it's exactly the same. The case is in there. It's wrapped in the clear plastic. It has the cardboard sort of wrapper around it. So you take it out of the plastic, you take the cardboard off, and interestingly, they have the Valve seal tag still equipped to this thing. So I had to run and get scissors to cut it off because I have about 3 of these laying around at this point. And then before I open it up, I wanted to take a look at the actual case to see if I could tell if it was a refurbished one, a used one, or a brand new one. If this thing is used, they're tricking me because it looks brand new. It feels brand new. There's not a fingerprint, a scuff, a speck of dust on this case from the outside. Even the Steam Deck logo is perfectly clean and pristine. So I think I got a new case with this thing, which is awesome. And I double checked. It did come with a removable slim case, but I'm still going to stick with the one that came with my limited edition model because it's got cool holographic Steam Deck printing all over it and it's got orange accents. But it's still cool that you get a black one along with this case. And I thought it was interesting that they use white zipper pulls on this. I don't know if that's any different from the 512 gig model or the LCD, but it did stand out as a cool little piece of visual flair. player. So first impressions are excellent. As far as I'm concerned, if you were buying this thing as a gift, you could probably just tell someone it was brand new and they'd have no idea because the unboxing experience is exactly the same. There might be some different iconography or graphics on the actual packaging that wraps around the Steam Deck case itself, but like, who cares? It's, as far as I'm concerned, as close to getting a brand new Steam Deck as you can possibly get, and I saved over $100 doing it. I also checked out the power supply before the Steam Deck. A lot of people on Reddit and the Steam forums have said that the power supply is where you do notice cosmetic damage because they can't really refurbish that. I guess I got lucky because this looks, as far as I can tell, like a brand new power supply. It still had the stickers over the Steam Deck logos. The cord was wrapped up nice and neat. It was just as new as the one I got with my Steam Deck dock, my Steam Deck OLED, and my launch LCD model. I looked very closely for any scuff, scratch, or scrape, and I couldn't find any. So just like with the case, it looks like I got a brand new power supply. So we're still moving in the correct direction with this. It's all feeling very brand new. But with the accessories out of the way, let's take a look at the meat and potatoes, the Steam Deck OLED itself, and shocker, it looks like a brand new Steam Deck. I had my overhead lighting on, which is very cool lighting. It's very bright. I examined this thing as close to being under a microscope as I could. And as far as I can tell, this is a brand new Steam Deck. There's no fingerprints on the screen. The screen has virtually zero scratches. All of the buttons travel as if they're brand new. They travel better than my Steam Deck OLED that I use every single day. The sticks are clicky. They move exactly how they should. The bumpers feel exactly the same, which is nice because on my Steam Deck OLED, the left bumper is mushier than the right bumper, which is super irritating. And the trackpads, they vibrate as they should. They work as they should. The D-pad feels great. I looked at the fan vents to see if those cracks from stress are forming. I looked in all the screw holes. It looks like every screw is brand new. Like, as far, you could put this next to the brand new Steam Deck OLED that you could buy right now, and I would pay someone $100 cash if they could tell the difference between the refurbished model and the regular edition Steam Deck OLED. Now, they ship these things in battery safe mode, so I had to plug it in to turn it on, and the turn on process was exactly the same as every other Steam Deck I've ordered. It turns on, it updates Steam, you log in, you're in Steam OS. It populates with all your different games. I connected to Wi-Fi just fine. I literally cannot find a single difference between this Steam Deck OLED that's refurbished and the one I bought brand new when I got the limited edition one, outside of the coloring and everything like that. It feels, looks, and sounds and acts like a brand new Steam Deck. Like, this is, bar none, as someone who buys a lot of refurbished stuff, the absolute best refurbished experience I've ever had, because as far as I can tell, this thing is not refurbished. It's absolutely brand new. I'd love to know what they're doing over at Valve to make these things look and feel so new, because if they're replacing every part, I can't understand why, outside of small legal concerns of selling a refurbished item as new, they aren't just selling it as brand new, because like, I can't tell the difference. It's awesome. So if you're one of the people who want to buy a Steam Deck, you need to be checking this refurbished site. I've looked at videos on YouTube from other creators, like my old boss, Austin Evans. He had the same stuff to say, and the pricing differences on these things are kind of crazy. So for a brand new 512 gigabyte OLED model, you'd pay $549. And if you wanted it refurbished, you'd pay $439. So again, over $100 discounted. The 399 base model, the 64 gigabyte model, drops all the way down to $279. That's the one that's got to sell out the fastest, because if you buy that refurbished, you're essentially getting, once again, a brand new Steam Deck, and then you could just buy a 1 terabyte SSD and upgrade your model. Of course, you lose the slimline case, you lose the OLED screen, which are big sacrifices because the OLED screen is incredible. But if you want to do this as cheap as possible, because you know the Steam Deck 2 is coming within the next 2 years, go with the absolute dirt cheapest option so you can get familiar with the Steam Deck, and then you'll be ready to go when the new one comes out. And if you can't sell it, you only spent $280, which is like nothing, especially compared to the Switch 2, which is $450. And they just announced that you can't pre-order it anymore because of the tariff situation. Like, if you can get one of those in stock, I would just go with that and upgrade the SSD, unless you're just absolutely married to the idea of getting an OLED screen. But if you don't want to mess around with upgrading the SSD, you could get the 256 gigabyte option for $319. I wouldn't buy that. It's not worth paying that much more for that little more storage. Like, I would go go for the 64 gig option and upgrade the SSD or get a big micro SD card, but I'm assuming that one goes in stock a little bit more. So if you're really trying to get a refurbished one, it's not the worst option. It's just the worst option on this list. And then finally for $319, you can get the 512 gig Steam Deck. I wouldn't get that one. If you're going to go for 512, go for the OLED. You're only paying a little bit more and the benefits are awesome. Like you get better battery life, a better screen, slightly better performance. It's just better across the board. But man, other manufacturers, take notes. This experience was absolutely phenomenal from top to bottom, man. Like getting this thing in 2 days as a refurbished unit and then pulling it out of the box, and it's just as premium of an experience as buying a brand new one. Of course, it's not limited edition, but it's a 1 terabyte Steam Deck OLED that looks and feels just as good as a new one. I really don't have anything negative to say in this video. I'm sure someone out there has been able to find some negative experience, but this is as close to just getting one and receiving it 2 days later without any outside factors influencing the process in any way as you can get. If you're worried about buying a refurbished model, I would say don't be. It's awesome. It's just great from top to bottom. So yeah, that about wraps it up for this video. I hope you found it informative and it helps you make a good decision about what Steam Deck you should buy. But if you've asked the question of whether or not a Steam Deck is still worth buying in 2025, the answer still is a resounding yes, whether it's new, refurbished, or anything in between. As always, guys, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.